The first test screening we had, which was in quite a big theatre, with a very diverse group of people, all ages and genders and all sorts of things. And in a particularly difficult scene, a fight broke out between two audience members. One person did not like what was happening, and the other person was saying, if you don't like it, you don't have to stay. And then they were arguing. But it happened over the course of this scene. So it was quite nervous after. It's not what you necessarily want from your first test screening.
What scene was it?
It was the scene when Carey gets smothered to death.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
That'll do it.
It was, well, because also the thing about that scene, and again, it's not something we can talk about, but I asked, my father-in-law is a policeman, a retired policeman, and so I asked him how long it would take to smother somebody. And so we timed it out. He said about 2.5 minutes. And so that shot is one shot and it's 2.5 minutes. And it is unrelenting. It's completely unrelenting. But I really believe strongly that if you're going to show violence, you need to, I think actually the worst thing you can do is treat it glibly. So it is shocking, but it's not supposed to be nice. And it was tough to watch on the day, actually, watching, well, again, it's difficult to talk about, but I remember everyone at the monitor, because it was happening in real time, and also it's a stunt and it's dangerous, because obviously if something does go wrong, it's difficult to know.
Yeah.
So luckily, there was a bit of a hairy moment, but luckily everything's okay. But when it was happening, when we were watching it, it was just silent. Everyone was just standing at the monitor, all of the crew, everyone was just, it was horrific. It was just horrific to watch.
Question one about the ending is that from what we gather, the ending that ended up on screen is not the original ending in the first versions of the script.
Yes and no. In my mind, when I was writing it, the ending was going to be the big fuck you, cathartic ending. It was never written, because the moment Cassie is in that room, I realized that there is no way of honestly showing that, because it's not true. If what we're doing with this movie is saying this is what we think, this is a revenge movie with a woman at the center, and she's going to put on a sexy outfit and she's going to kill a ton of guys, and that's going to make us all feel more comfortable and better. Weirdly, killing lots of people is going to make us feel better. But what I really wanted to do, and again, that's why one of many reasons why talking about the ending is so difficult, is that there is no violence in this movie until I put a weapon in her hand. There is violence, and it is against her, because I cannot imagine being in a room with a man threatening him where it plays out in any different way, no matter how much we want it to be the case. And also from Al Monroe's point of view, again, what I said to Chris, you're a good guy. You're a fucking lovely guy. You love your fiance. Something happened at university that you barely remember with a girl that was, as far as you guys were all concerned, crazy drunk and always shagged everyone, and, and she dropped out and whatever. I was sort of saying to him, this woman is going to do something terrible to you. You're going to fight for your life, and it's going to be horrific for both of you. And so in the draft in my head had a sort of a neater ending, which the moment it was on paper disappeared. But the first draft that I handed in, the first full draft that I handed in, didn't have the final bit. It didn't have part 5. It ended in the mountains with the fire. I love the ending. I really do. I think it's important and funny and lovely and, and is true. But I think there would have been something to be said for ending with the fire. But I can understand why everyone said it was too sad. They were like, come on, we're going to give you money to make this. But, in my kind of heart, I think where it would have ended, I guess.
So how did you come up with what actually we see on screen. Yeah.
Well, actually, do you know what? It was good in a way, because in many ways I really do think they were right, and why the producers, I love them so much, is actually somebody as meticulous as Cassie does not go to a cabin in the middle of nowhere with a ton of drunk men thinking that something bad might not happen. She knows that there's a chance that she could be in trouble, and that's a chance she's willing to take. And so she's made arrangements for if she doesn't come back that will expose all of them. And also in many ways, their exposure is going to be their crime is going to be taken much more seriously because of what happens to her as well, because she and Nina, I suppose, in many ways, then I don't know, it makes it harder for people to look away. It actually, in the end, did feel like as close to what would happen afterwards. And so I hope that and also I think Cassie has a very, very sick sense of humor. And I think that the idea of destroying Al's wedding would have made it almost worth it for her. She had so much. And, it kind of had to end there, I guess, with a kind of awful laugh, with Max Greenfield running away from the police, leaving his best friend.
What an amazing cameo from him. That was so great. But before that, Carey, I would love to know about your last sort of scene from your perspective, and just, do you think Cassie walks in there with is the wedding bit a contingency plan, or is she going there to self-immolate and to be a martyr?
She's cavalier with her life for her cause, but is not on a suicide mission. So I think the contingency is there as a contingency, but I think, she's clearly gotten to the point where, enough is enough, and she's going to go into that room no matter what. But I don't think she's going there with, I think you see the fight of her trying to live. So I don't think there was any sort of feeling of knowing that she wouldn't come out. But I think, the realistic. And I think, we talked about at some point, there was a reference in the script to I think we shot it as well, like a bruise on her hand from when one of her kind of evenings had gone wrong. Yeah. So you sort of saw that actually not every time is a kind of slam dunk where she walks out, having kind of eating a hot dog and feeling like she's done her job. Like there are occasions where, it does get out of control. And so I think she knows that that's a very, very strong possibility.
Was that always a stunt double with Chris on the bed in that entire sequence?
Never. No stunt double.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
I would say, because Carey will be too modest, she also plays her own dead body in the following scene.
In the fire?
That brilliant.
Not in the fire. Not in the fire.
We burned her. She's had excellent reconstructive surgery to put her back together, but we did burn her at the end.
It was like Harry Potter smoke or something.
We watched the stunt team do it, which was, like Emerald said, it's horrible to watch, and they were incredible. But we both wanted to do it ourselves, as actors always do. But it just felt like it, it had to be us, both of us doing it. It was, it's horrible. And somehow worse to do the ADR for it. I don't know why. It just sounded, we had to do ADR. And so I had like 3 different pillows brought into the ADR booth and sort of had to sort of recreate the noises. But it was not fun at all, but everyone was just, that was when, our crew every day were just like ninjas. We just had the most extraordinary crew. The whole thing was shot in 23 days. 23 days, and this was one of those sort of really complicated things, and this, incredible 2.5-minute shot. So as much as, it just couldn't have been done better. We just had the most incredible crew. So it was, a sort of bleak couple of hours where, no one was enjoying it really. It's not an enjoyable thing. It's not an enjoyable thing to watch, but it's the most honest thing. And we all felt like really similarly to Em, very strongly that we had to tell the truth about that situation. And it had to be exactly, you had to see all the fight and all the horrible, all the ugly truth of what that situation is. But again, like our crew were just, the best. So wonderful.
So after reading this full script, no one blinked. No one was like, does it have to be suffocation? Can she just fall down the stairs? Like I in terms of like a marketable piece. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So not so much the death, but the method, you mean?
Yes. Or just any studio notes, any like.
No, absolutely.
That's awesome.
No, I think this is also just on a practical note. It's the thing about making kind of independent movies on very low budgets is that you can say like, look, they understood, I think, that it needed teeth and I feel very, very strongly, as I said before, like we see women being murdered all the time in movies and we don't give it a second thought. And it's kind of actually kind of perversely much more shocking to me than, you know, there's a reason that we're kind of like slowly moving in, pushing in on it, because, you know, if you want to look at it. That's very much my feeling. It's like, let's not pretend that this is a kind of, you know, it's a popcorn world until it isn't. And I do feel very, very strongly that like, you can't be glib about this sort of thing. And it needed to feel real because it is real. And so I think anything else would have been a disservice, actually. Again, it's difficult to explain because of course you don't want it to be too troubling or traumatizing, but then on the other side of things, you don't want to make it seem less horrible than it is, I guess. But yeah, like they were all really cool about it. I mean, obviously they stopped at the kind of super bleak ending with the burning. They did want sort of a more from it, but they never minded that. They understood, I think, why it was.
Given that you're subverting the tropes of rape revenge movies in which the woman lives at the end, do you think that Cassie was doomed the moment Nina was raped? And, you know, no? Okay.
No, definitely not. I mean, well, look, and also, you know, to be fair, what I think about it in many ways is by the by. It is, I don't think that I necessarily can answer all these questions because I don't, you know, but no, absolutely not. I think that it's been 10 years of slow burn, of tiny and minute decisions, of self-harm, of hardening, of, you know, of opening a wound and it growing over and then opening it again. You know, it has been a process for her, and where we find her is, you know, right bang in the middle of that process. I don't think for a second that, you know, that she was doomed. She's doing what many, many male protagonists have been doing for years, which is, you know, from even films like Gladiator, you know, men are allowed to nobly die a lot. She is heroic, even if that heroism is distressing in lots of ways. And it may not be right, but I do feel strongly that, you know, that what she does was the only thing she felt she could do.